Tonight on First at 9, this Monday the 19th of August 2024. Within limits, the Election Commission will issue a Gazette notification regarding new campaign finance laws specifying maximum campaign funding limits for candidates in the upcoming presidential election. Expectations. Year-on-year headline inflation is expected to decelerate in the coming months, falling more than 2 percentage points below the 5% target in the near term, affirms the central bank. Whom to support? The Tamil National Alliance to decide on its presidential candidate support after analysing the candidates' manifestos. Inclement weather. Adverse weather conditions have affected over 2,000 individuals. Flood warnings have been extended for another 24 hours.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Sri Lanka's premier primetime English news bulletin, Derana First at 9. I am Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and from around the world. Now taking you to tonight's top story, the People's Action for Free and Fair Elections announced that it has made arrangements to conduct a public debate between 6 of the leading candidates contesting the 2024 presidential election. Executive Director of PAFRL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, revealed that 2 candidates have already expressed their willingness to take part in the debate. In the meantime, the Election Commission is expected to publish the Gazette notification detailing the maximum sum of money each candidate can spend per voter pursuant to the provisions of the Regulation of Election Expenses Act before the end of today. Pursuant to the provisions of the Regulation of Election Expenses Act that will be in effect onwards from this year's presidential election, the maximum sum of money each candidate can spend per voter must be published in the Government Gazette within 5 days of accepting nominations. According to Commissioner General of Elections Saman Sri Ratnayaka, during the meeting that was held last Saturday between the Election Commission, the presidential candidates and their representatives to reach a consensus on the maximum amount to be spent on a voter, sums ranging from 50 cents to 1,000 rupees had been proposed. The Election Commission is expected to publish the notification proclaiming the maximum sum of money each candidate can spend per voter in the Government Gazette today. In the meantime, the Ministry of Public Security has established a special security unit operational 24 hours a day to ensure the safety of presidential candidates throughout the election period in accordance with the recommendations of the Presidential Council appointed in this regard. Meanwhile, the People's Action for Free and Fair Elections has organised a public debate of the presidential candidates, providing them an opportunity to present their policies to the public. Executive Director of PAFRL, Rohana Hettiarachchi, revealed that so far 2 presidential candidates have expressed their willingness to take part in the debate.
We have
planned to hold a debate between the presidential candidates who we believe are capable of securing a significant amount of votes. We have invited 6 candidates who have the support of members of parliament. These include President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sajith Premadasa, Anurukumara Dissanayake, Dilip Jayawira and Namal Rajapaksa. Additionally, we have also invited P. Ariyandaran and candidate representing the Tamil community. So far, 2 mainstream candidates have expressed their willingness to participate in the debate. 7 major television channels have agreed to broadcast the debate live and over 200 social media pages have agreed to publicize the debate. Through the debate, we hope to provide the people the opportunity to hear the candidates' plan to develop the country within a 2-hour period. Major sectors of the country such as the economy, education and healthcare will be discussed during the debate. Our hope is that the rest of the candidates, include the president, will participate in the debate.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Now, former Minister Manusha Nanayakkara stated that 14 MPs from the opposition Samaggi Jana Balawegaya have left the party, with more expected to follow as the presidential election approaches. He made these remarks while attending an event organised to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe's Sri Lanka Can initiative. Meanwhile, several MPs and former parliamentarians were presented with appointment letters as district organisers of the United National Party today. The Beruwala Youth Conference met yesterday in Alutgama to support President Ranil Wickremesinghe's Sri Lanka Can initiative with participation from several parliamentarians, including government ministers.
I do not need to remind you who stabilized the country within 2 years after it collapsed, as we all have witnessed it. We cannot allow anyone to sabotage this process midway. We need to advance this progress. It's like diffusing a time bomb, requiring someone with expert knowledge and experience. If it goes off, it will be disastrous for both the country and its citizens. After a 3-hour-long discussion, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa stated he cannot assume leadership. He described it as a dangerous and major challenge for anyone who accepts it. But now he has claimed that they did not take over because the other side had corrupted personnel. His reluctance was due to his inability to take on responsibility and fear of accepting a challenge. As of today, 14 SJP MPs have left the party, and within the next few days, 4 or 5 more candidates with votes are expected to leave the SJP. Meanwhile, appointment letters were presented to the new district organisers of the United National Party at the Sirikota Party headquarters today under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Parliamentarian Ishaq Rahman and former parliamentarians P. Harrison and W.B. Ekanayaka received letters as organisers for the Anuradhapura district. Former Jatika Helorume member Nishantha Srivarnasinghe was appointed as the Colombo district UNP organiser. Additionally, former parliamentarian Nishantha Muthuhettigama was appointed as the Gold district organiser, and 295 others were given positions as district and regional organisers. Meanwhile, opposition leader and presidential candidate of the Samagi Jana Sandhanaya, Sajith Premadasa, assures that he will transform the presidential secretariat into a hub where foreign investors will be granted immediate approval for development projects, streamlining the investment process and boosting the country's economy. The opposition leader made this statement while addressing a rally in Navalapitiya today. A public rally in support of the presidential candidate of the Samagi Jana Sandhanaya, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa, was held today in Navalapitiya. I request the public to think about the destruction the JVP has done to this country by supporting almost every leader. However, now they claim that all those parties repeated the same mistakes over and over again. The destruction they caused accounts for over $250 billion. The Hampantha report was built at a total cost of $1 billion. However, the loss caused by the JVP alone is 250 times of that. Since 1994, Ranil Wickremesinghe has held us hostages and destroyed his party as well as the country for a period of 30 years. He supported the Rajapaksa family to come into power and place the country's future in jeopardy. According to the data received so far, we have secured over 48% of the votes as of now. Anura and Namal would only be able to receive a maximum of 5 million votes. That amount would be divided into 3. I believe we can secure 2/3 majority. I've already discussed with several investors to establish factories across cities and villages in the country, commencing from the 22nd of next month. I will transform the presidential secretariat into a one-stop shop. This initiative of granting immediate approval to foreign investors was already in place during the tenure of former President Ranasinghe Premadasa. I will reinstate that initiative and establish factories within the 20 divisional secretariat divisions of the Kandy district. The creator of the country's fertilizer issue is also in Kandy. I will provide the funds lost due to the organic and nano fertilizer scam to the public again. Those involved in this fertilizer scam will be brought before the law. We will once again revive the Udagam concept of building residences for the general public. Meanwhile, leader of the National People's Power and the party's presidential candidate Anurukumara Dissanayake asserts that he is confident of securing over 50% of the votes in the presidential election and claims that the final figure might be as high as 60 or even 70%. Dissanayake made this statement while addressing a media briefing in Colombo today.
දැන් සතුරා වේගයෙන් කලබල වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
Our opposition has entered into a state of panic. As such, they have begun to level unfounded allegations at us. I heard Ranil Wickremesinghe say that when we were offered power following Mahinda Rajapaksa's resignation, we declined. On the contrary, we wrote to then President Gotabaya Rajapaksa on the 12th of May 2022, requesting that he transfer power to us, as the National People's Power was ready to resolve the crisis. However, we did not even receive an acknowledgement that he received the letter. When I came forward to accept the presidency, the parliament could have appointed me as president, but they didn't. They will never hand over power to us. We have never shied away from responsibility. On the contrary, we are ready to accept the responsibility of leading the country. Now they are attempting to spread fear throughout society, claiming that harm will befall opposition politicians if an NPP government comes to power. Ranil Wickremesinghe has established an entire campaign just to spread this message. However, we would like to make it clear that the NPP will not allow any harm to befall any opposition politicians following our election to office.
නියතුඩික්ව හානිය සිද්ධ වෙන්න ජාතික ජන බලවේගීට දෙන්නේ නේ වගකීම අපි බාර ගන්න ලෑස්ති.
දැන් සමාජය තුළ මතයක් දෙනවා ලක්ෂ 70ක් අරන් යනවා. ලක්ෂ 70ට යන්නේ කොහොමද කියන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි.
ගෝඨාභයට ලැබුණු ලක්ෂ 69 ඇතුලේ ලක්ෂ 50කට වඩා වැඩි ඡන්ද ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙන සාම්ප්‍රදායික පාක්ෂිකයන් නෙවෙයි.
Out of the 6.9 million votes Gotabaya Rajapaksa received, over 5 million were from non-traditional supporters. The 5.5 million votes Sajith Premadasa received were not votes for Sajith but votes against Gotabaya. Therefore, there are over 8 million voters who are not aligned with any particular party. Additionally, there are over 1.2 million new voters. Therefore, mathematically speaking, not only can the NPP secure 7 million votes, we can exceed that target. The NPP can secure over 51% of the votes. Politically speaking, this figure can even reach 60 to 70%.
ජාතික ජන බලවේගීට 51ක් ඉක්මවන්න පුළුවන්. දේශපාලන බැලුවොත් නම් 60 70කට කිට්ටු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa assured that he will recommence the stalled development projects initiated by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa in 2015 following his election to office after the presidential election on the 21st of September. Speaking to media, the SLPP presidential candidate assured that unlike other candidates, he will not issue hollow and opportunistic promises to the people of the North and the East in order to secure votes in the upcoming presidential polls. The presidential candidate of Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna Namal Rajapaksa visited the Paligada Vidyalankara Pirivena this morning to seek blessings.
නායකතුමා දැන් තංගල්ලට මහ සෙනඟක් ආවා ජවිපේ මීටින් එකට. මොකද හිතෙන්නේ?
ඒක ආවේ නැත්තම් මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ. මොකද එතනනේ උප්පත්තිය.
මේ සෙනඟ දැකලා බය හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද මාලිමාවට බලයයි කියලා?
මාලිමාවට කවදද යන්නේ බලන්න.
දෙමුල මුස්ලිම් ඡන්ද නැතුව දිනන්න පුළුවන් දුපතුමාට.
ඉතින් අපි අනිත් දේශපාලන
Unlike the other political parties, we will not be changing our policies ahead of the presidential election. Without issuing any fake promises, we accept the things we are not good at. So clearly, we are unable to grant them police and land powers. Further, the North and the East cannot be merged and the country cannot be divided.
ඒකාබද්ධ කරන්න බෑ. මේ රට බෙදන්න බෑ.
තාත්තා නැවත උතනින් ඔබතුමා පටන් ගන්නවා කියලාද කියන්නේ?
පැහැදිලිවම.
Absolutely, we will commence the development projects which were stalled since 2015.
Lanka National People's Party extended its support for the Sarva Jana Balaya Alliance's presidential candidate Dilith Jayavira during the upcoming presidential election. A memorandum of understanding was signed between the leader of Maubima Janata Party and Sarva Jana Balaya presidential candidate Dilith Jayavira and the leader of the Sri Lanka People's National Party Thiagarasa Vishnukanthan today at the MJP headquarters. Speaking to media, Dilith Jayavira highlighted that the two parties have engaged in discussions pertaining to the issues of Sri Lanka's Tamil communities. Jayavira added that this will mark a significant step forward in their political journey launched under the theme United Nationality. And now let's take a look at some thoughts shared by the TNA's working committee on their support for the upcoming presidential election.
Our Central Working Committee discussed the measures that should be taken during the upcoming presidential election. Here we would like to highlight that we held discussions with the three mainstream candidates about this matter. We also held discussions with Namal Rajapaksa, but Namal stated that he is uncertain of what the results of the elections will be. Nevertheless, the three mainstream candidates have yet to reveal their political manifestos. After we review them, we will take a final decision on who to support in the upcoming presidential election. Until then, we will see what will happen.
Now let's take a look at some more political views expressed ahead of the presidential polls. We will implement a transparent and direct governance model and closely monitor its progress. One of our biggest challenges is ensuring that our monitoring is satisfactory to our leader. Therefore, we are planning a highly calculated approach to governance.
On the stages of HJB, there is frequent criticism that those around President Ranil Wickremesinghe are responsible for the country's economic collapse. However, we argue that the individuals responsible for the collapse are now within the HJB. The advisors who contributed to the economic downturn are currently members of HJB. In contrast, our camp includes SLPP MPs who supported President Wickremesinghe during the toughest times, not those who fled.
අද ගෑස් ටික ගෙනාවට අයිතිකාරයෝ ගොඩයි. අද පොහොර ටික ගෙනාවට අයිතිකාරයෝ ගොඩයි. තෙල් ටික ගෙනාවට අයිතිකාරයෝ ගොඩයි. මට දුක තියෙන්නේ අපිත් එක්ක එක හිටපු අමාත්‍යවරුන්ට පවා අමතක වෙලා තියෙනවා ඇත්තටම ලංකාවට පොහොර ටික ආවේ කොහොමද? කොහොමද ගෑස් ටික ආවේ? කොහොමද තෙල් ටික ආවේ කියලා.
හැබැයි එකක් ඉතාම පැහැදිලිව කියන්න ඕනේ.
I must state clearly that the President has proposed a program and made it a reality. Initial challenges are gradually diminishing. This progress has led to some jealousy from Sajith Premadasa and Anurukumara Disanayaka who believe they can take the reins from here.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට පුළුවන් ඉස්සරහට අරගෙන යන්න කියලා.
Low atmospheric disturbance around Sri Lanka prompting severe downpours around the island. The Department of Irrigation stated that the flood warnings issued for the Kalu River sub-basin will remain effective for the next 24 hours. According to the Disaster Management Centre, the prevailing adverse weather patterns have affected over 2,000 persons belonging to 778 families over the past few days. Due to the low-level atmospheric disturbance around the vicinity of Sri Lanka, many areas across the country continue to receive heavy rainfall throughout the day. The overflowing of the Hamilton Canal and the Lunuoya prompted floods on the Colombo-Puttalam road from the Mahaweva area this morning. The inundation disrupted traffic along the road. Subsequently, the Puttalam police urged drivers to limit the use of small vehicles on the road and to use alternative roads for transportation. As the water level of the river Kuda, a tributary of the Kalu River, has reached its maximum capacity in the Bulat Sinhala area, the Molkava Bulat Sinhala main road remains submerged. Residences in the low-lying areas also remain flooded as a result. Further, the entrance of the Tebuana Granthakara Pirivana remained submerged owing to the spillover of the river Kalu. Similarly, the Kirindivita area along the Kandana-Gampaha road was inundated as the Attanagalu oil spilt over at the Akaravita area in Gampaha. Meanwhile, the Irrigation Department noted that the flood warnings issued to the Kalu River sub-basin will remain effective for the next 24 hours. According to the reports issued by the Disaster Management Centre today, a total of 2,872 persons belonging to 778 families in 3 districts are affected due to the prevailing extreme weather patterns. In view of the adverse weather, 186 people have been directed to safe locations. Considering the prevailing inclement weather patterns, the National Building Research Organisation issued landslide early warnings to areas in 6 districts.
Warning level 3 evacuation red notice was issued to Ingiri and Bulat Sinhala Division Secretary Division Kaltara District, Kalavana, Aheligoda and Elapada Division Secretary Division Ratnapura District, and warning level 2 alert amber warning was issued to Yakkalamudla, LPTA, Nelu and Nagoda Division Secretary Division Gold District, Horana and Matugama Division Secretary Division Kaltara District, Varakapala, Yatiyantota, Derana, Bulat Kopitiya, Puanwella and Dehiovita Division Secretary Division K Gold District, Pitabettara Division Secretary Division Matra District, Kiriella, Ratnapura, Nevitigala, Kuruvita and Ayagama Division Secretary Division Ratnapura District. Warning level 1 watch yellow warning was issued to Sitavaka Division Secretary Division Kalambu District, Agalabatta, Dodangoda, Palindanura and Valalavita Division Secretary Divisions in Kaltara District, Galigamua, Kegol and Aranayaka Division Secretary Divisions Kegol District, Aturlia Division Secretary Division Matra District, Kalmadula Division Secretary Ratnapura District, Amangama Korle Division Secretary Division Noreli District.
For the central bank's outlook on Sri Lanka's inflation data, join us on the other side.
Star dishwasher Dali Hell Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher Magic Tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Welcome back. The central bank in its latest report indicates that the year-on-year headline inflation is expected to decelerate in the coming months. The August monetary policy report further notes that quarterly average inflation levels could fall more than 2 percentage points below the 5% target in the near term. In a recent report, the central bank indicated that the deceleration in inflation is primarily due to significant downward revisions in the electricity tariff. The favourable statistical base effect will also contribute, especially towards the end of 2024 and early 2025. However, the financial regulator noted a potential short-term increase in headline inflation during the second half of 2025 due to an unfavourable statistical base effect, although it is expected to stabilise in the medium term at targeted levels. The CBSL mentioned that given that the quarterly average inflation in the second quarter of this year was more than 2 percentage points below the target, projections suggest a potential breach of the inflation target on the downside in the third quarter of 2024 for the first time. Currently, the financial regulator anticipates this breach will continue into the fourth quarter of 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. Despite the expected deceleration, the CBSL warns that headline inflation may be affected by potential increases in global food prices, the gradual depreciation of the Sri Lankan rupee against the US dollar, and demand pressures from the economic recovery. However, this impact is expected to be temporary as the statistical base effect, which contributes to inflation increases in late 2025, is projected to normalize gradually afterward. Core inflation, which excludes volatile prices such as those of energy and transport, is expected to rise gradually in the latter half of 2024. This increase is attributed to the anticipated recovery in domestic demand and rising global food inflation. Nevertheless, core inflation is expected to be temporary in early 2025. According to the CBSL, inflation expectations among the corporate sector declined for all tenors in the June 2024 survey compared to the previous month, reflecting the trend in realized inflation. A gradual rise in expected inflation is anticipated from the current month through the next 6 months, driven by anticipated reductions in interest rates, potential increases in government expenditure, and rupee depreciation. Meanwhile, the central bank's purchasing managers report for July 2024 showed that the manufacturing index expanded to 59.5% from 56.6% in June this year. The central bank said all the sub-indices expanded on a month-on-month basis, contributing to this increase. The increase in new orders and production was mainly attributable to the manufacture of foods and beverages and textile and apparel sectors. Employment turned positive in July 2024, while stock of purchase also expanded in line with the increased demand for materials. Services PMI indicated a further expansion in service activities in July 2024 as reflected by the Business Activity Index, which recorded an index value of 71.1, the highest value recorded so far this year. The continued expansion in business activities was driven by the improvements observed in freight and aviation sectors. New businesses increased in July, particularly with the upsurges observed in financial and transportation services. However, employment services declined in July despite a few new recruitments. And with that, let's take a look at some corporate news in brief.
Convenience Foods Lanka plc RSA Wickramasinghe revealed their key focus was to maintain a customer-centric approach in their strategy, ensuring that their products are affordable to consumers. In its annual report for the financial year 2023-24, Wickramasinghe added that their investment in improving the quality of the spice products are expected to expand their reach and strengthen the brand name in the market. The company chairman further highlighted plans to increase their global reach to provide familiar Sri Lankan products. In the meantime, Standard Capital plc announced that Waruna Indika Arambage, chairman of the company, has sold a total of 652,614 shares at 35 rupees each. In its corporate disclosure, the company added that the relevant transaction amounts to 11.78% of the issued shares of the company. The transaction was notified to the board of directors on the 14th of this month. In other corporate news, Union Bank announced the appointment of Dilshan Rodrigo as its new director and chief executive officer, effective from the 16th of August this year. Under his leadership, Union Bank aims to navigate the evolving landscape of the country's banking industry and become a beacon of innovation and customer-centric strategies in an era of digitalization.
And that's all the news we have for you today. Thank you for joining us and have a good night.